Emotional abuse is deliberately making loved ones feel afraid or bad about themselves, so they'll do what the abuser wants. In family relationships, we have enormous power over the well-being of loved ones. With that power comes the responsibility to nurture and protect. Abusers violate that responsibility as well as their own humane values due to resentment, entitlement, and addiction to blame. Here are a few subtle indicators of emotional abuse. At least one partner makes judgments about the other's perspective without trying to understand it. At least one partner prefers to blame rather than improve. One partner tells the other how to think and feel in a seeming attempt to be helpful. At least one of the partners shows remorse for hurtful remarks or behavior, but not compassion. That's understanding and sympathy for the effects of their behavior. A partner withdraws affection and rejects connection in the face of disagreement. I can't love you if you don't agree with me. One partner claims the other is too sensitive. One partner implies that the other is not competent, smart, or resourceful. At least one of the partners regards the other as inferior or emotionally disordered. At least one of the partners uses sarcasm. At least one of the partners walks on eggshells to avoid a disappointed look, or worse, from the other. The engines of chronic resentment, anger, and emotional abuse are blame, denial, and avoidance. I call those the toddler coping mechanisms because 2-year-olds will do that. They blame, deny, and avoid. The lamp's broken, what happened? They'll blame it on someone, or they'll say, I don't know, or they'll hide. So we've been blaming, denying, and avoiding since we were 2 years old. Blame, denial, and avoidance make you feel powerless because you can't improve anything. And that's why you want to feel empowered with anger. But the power of anger is artificial. It's just adrenaline. And the adrenaline wears off and you feel worse. Blame, denial, and avoidance turn relationships into power struggles or passive aggression. Either you or your partner is irritated by how the other feels, intolerant of differences. We should see things the same way, my way. Annoyed by the things you used to like, things like facial expressions, laughter, tone of voice, manner of dress. You used to like them and now they get on your nerves. You make less important things more important than the most important things. You will devalue each other over simple things. Losing interest in most forms of intimacy, talking, touch, hugging, sharing, sex. Let's start with the effects on children because they are the innocent victims of chronic resentment, anger, and emotional abuse in the household. The most common symptom is depression, but that looks different in children from the way it looks in adults. Children don't mope around and cry all the time when depressed. They look like they're chronically bored. Anxiety or nervousness, worry, especially about things that children don't normally worry about, like the bills. Are mommy and daddy going to be okay? School issues, aggressiveness, hyperactivity, they can't sit still, low self-value, they don't feel as good as other kids, over-emotionality, that can be crying or excitability, especially when it comes out of nowhere, or just the opposite, no emotions at all. They're little stone children. It's like you could slice up a puppy in front of them and they wouldn't flinch. When parents are resentful toward each other, children tend to feel insecure, untrusting, and like burdens to their parents. As adults, they're at an increased risk of suffering resentful, angry, or abusive relationships. They're at a higher risk of alcohol or drug abuse, mental health problems, even criminality. Trouble sleeping. There's three kinds of insomnia. One where you can't get to sleep. It takes you a couple of hours to fall asleep. You'll toss and turn. The most insidious is awakening in the middle of the night, and it takes a couple of hours to go back to sleep. And then waking up too early, a couple of hours before your alarm goes off. Continual worry, anxiety, or excessive anger. Obsessions, those are thoughts you can't get out of your mind. Impaired decision making, and depression. Do I like myself? Am I able to realize my fullest potential? Do my children like themselves? Do my loved ones feel safe and secure? Are you emotionally abusive? Anyone can be just because of the nature of love relationships. Only someone you love can make you feel unlovable and inadequate. Because we're often unaware of that power, we can easily abuse it. The path to emotional abuse begins when resentment starts to outweigh compassion. What follows are crucial questions to ask yourself to see if you might be emotionally abusive. Does it feel like your partner pushes your buttons? Does your partner frequently do things the wrong way? Do you feel like you have to tell your partner the same thing over and over? Do you treat your partner in ways you couldn't have imagined when you first developed feelings for each other? Do you automatically blame your partner when things go wrong? Do you ever make your partner feel like a failure as a spouse, parent, or lover? Would your family or friends be surprised by the way you treat your partner behind closed doors? When upset, do you threaten to take the children away from your partner? Do you need to know where your partner is at all times? Typically, the harshest criticism is meted out by those who can't stand being criticized. It's a truism of psychotherapy. People who shame others carry a lot of internalized shame. Frequent shaming remarks cross the line into emotional abuse. Remorse without compassion ensures more hurt. That's because the brain treats remorseful memories as something to be hidden, forgotten about, not as deterrent for future behavior. Remorse comes after offenses. Compassion prevents them. Partners who have been emotionally abusive will often give up too soon on trying to make amends. Recovery requires a long period of safety and gradual reconnection. Reinforce the most important things to and about you. That's your core value. Develop self-compassion. Focus on the kind of person and partner you most want to be and what you can do to heal and improve. The Love Without Hurt Self-Help Bootcamp is a blueprint for personal healing and, if you choose, relationship repair. The bootcamp employs 3 simultaneous strategies for healing and recovery. The biological strategy increases endorphins, the body's natural pain relievers, and oxytocin, the bonding hormone that calms anxiety and makes us feel closer and more connected. At the same time, we decrease reliance on adrenaline and the stress hormone, cortisol, which come from anger, resentment, aggression, anxiety, and fear. We replace coping tactics of blame, denial, and avoidance with improve, appreciate, connect, and protect. We'll develop a healing identity. That is, you'll identify with your strengths and resilience, your ability to experience self-compassion and compassion for loved ones. These are the healing emotions. They heal emotional wounds. The relationship strategy is focus on what you want, not on what you don't want. Resentment keeps you hyper-focused on what you don't want. And that makes improvement all but impossible. You're far more likely to get cooperation with focus on what you want instead of criticizing what you don't want. The boot camp's divided into 3 sections. The first and longest is self-regulation. That's the ability to hold on to self-value under stress so you don't feel devalued by your partner's behavior. It's also the ability to act in your long-term best interests. And if you act in your long-term best interests in a love relationship, you're automatically going to be more compassionate, kind to the people you love because it goes against your best interests not to be. Part 2 is self-regulation in relationship, and that's the ability to hold on to value for your partner under stress. So you don't devalue your partner if you don't like his or her behavior, or if your partner doesn't like your behavior. You have a choice to be resentful and angry, which you have a right to do. You have a right to feel those things, or to love without hurt. Because if you choose resentment and anger, your love is going to be filled with hurt. But you have to make the choice, because on autopilot, resentment and anger will get worse. They're degenerative. They lead to contempt, eventually disgust, and destruction of relationships. Part 3 is relationship repair. Lasting change comes from practice, not insight. You are in therapy or couples counseling that relied on insight. Whatever positive change you had did not last. By the time we're adults, most of our emotions are habits and conditioned responses. They usually bypass insight. The tedium of practice, and practice is tedious. You're going to ask yourself, why do I have to do this when I don't feel like it and don't have time for it, especially if it's my partner who has the problem? Each questioning thought must have an answer. I have to do it to be a better person, partner, and parent, to be more successful at work and home with less tension, to avoid the loss of divorce for me and my children.